about how I paint my generically medieval knights or Oldhammer Bretonnians, depending on how I choose to use them. It'd probably be Bretonnians, or probably both really. But anyway, here we are. Step one, these chaps obviously need some priming, so let's prime them. Right, that's the priming done. Yeah, obviously priming in black is quite simple for knights when there's a lot of metal armour. And as for the horses, I'm going to paint them predominantly dark colours like brown and so on, just to keep it quick and keep it simple. They do actually turn out very nice using contrast. Actually, the Games Workshop contrast range of paints is pretty good for painting horses. I'm thinking, for example, of Martin on the Seventh Son channel and some of his Napoleonic cavalry, like British Union Brigade, if I remember rightly. He did a good guide to that. But in this instance, to keep it quick, keep it simple, I've primed it black, as you can see here. So moving swiftly on, let's see how we go. Okay, well, starting with the horses. Following the primer, we've done a couple of very heavy dry brushes, almost wet brushes in some cases, using a makeup brush. Brilliant stuff for dry brushing these things, especially early stages, big flat areas. Starting with Vallejo's Burnt Umber and then working up through flat brown and flat earth, and adding in a little bit of sunny skin tone in a couple of places, not for every horse, and how much of each of those browns on top of the initial burnt umber coat was added is varied. We've got like a good decent set of brown horses now. Detailing and making it look better will be added in the next stage, things like washes and detailing on manes and tails. Black Templar contrast paint's very good for that sort of thing, but we'll see when we get to that stage. And also I've done whatever little bits of armour, like on the heads of the horses, were present. So yeah, that's the basic first stage with the horses. And with the knights, following the primer, once again using our trusty makeup brush as a heavy dry brush, I've applied a very heavy dry brush of Vallejo gunmetal. So yeah, quite simple. And then the next stage will involve picking out a few details and adding some washes, etc. Well, here they are with a bit of detail added. Some gold detail on hilts of swords, stirrups, a few bits and bobs of washes of Agrax Earthshade where necessary. I may go and highlight the armour a little bit, and then I'll think about some basing. In any event, whatever paints I've used at whatever stage of this process, they'll be in the description below. Well, here we are with a few extra bits and bobs detail added. A shield for each guy, a little bit of highlighting on both the armour and the horse, and of course all the horses glued to bases. Next up, some actual basing, and here's one I made earlier. This will be the standard bearer for the unit, and I'll add the basing to make all of them match that. Okay, now we're ready to go with a bit of basing. If you remember from my previous video where I gave a quick idea of how I did this particular basing, because these are how these knights are going to be based. It involved polyfilla, PVA glue, those two sorts of paints, and a bit of texture. But anyway, here we go. Okay, for the brown section of the base, I've got a bit of PVA glue, bit of polyfilla, and some Vallejo light brown. Going to mix that all up. Alright, as you can see, a bit of a nice sticky paste, and we're going to apply that on the base of the models so that it eventually looks something like this. And if you recall from my previous video, I mentioned about pressing down bits of texture on there, but I'll show you about that in a second. And there we go, the brown paste all splodged on. The next step is to gently press some texture into the top of that whilst it's still wet, and to add the green part of the textured basing. So I'll come back when I've done that. Okay, so for the green part of the textured basing, we just need PVA glue, various bits of texture, and some Vallejo olive green paint. Mix it all up in there. And here we go, just got to mix this little lot up. And we'll soon have our green textured paint to put on. And what you end up with is a nice lumpy, disgusting looking green mixture like this. Believe me, it looks a lot better when it's on and dried and varnished. And there they all are. Still a bit of work to do in that the brown sections, as you can see, they've had some texture pressed onto it, need to be painted over, and obviously everything needs to dry. And once it's all dried and the brown sections are painted over, then some dry brushing will occur, and well, it'll all look lovely. Believe me, it looks a lot better in the end than it does now. Back shortly. And with apologies for the dirty paint palette underneath, there we are with the finished product. As you can see, the dry brushing was done on the basing, and a healthy coat of gloss varnish added. And there we go. I'll leave you with a turntable shot of these, and perhaps a group shot with the knights in the previous video. There we go. Hi folks, hope you enjoyed the video. Just a quickie at the end here, just to say that a reason that a lot of sci-fi and fantasy gamers I know say that they avoid historical wargaming is the phenomenon known as button counters. People are so obsessed with detail, they miss the fun and the creative side of wargaming as a hobby. Pointing out things like, you can't have brass buttons on that, that regiment historically had silver ones, that sort of thing. Well, for me, either sci-fi and fantasy or historical, as long as it looks the part, looks halfway decent, that does it for me. However, you also come across this phenomenon in fantasy gaming as well, as I discovered today. So, to the gentleman who told me that Perry Miniatures Agincourt models look nothing like what Bretonnians should do and I can't use them for that, I say this.